Peace and blessings, and welcome to another edition of the How Now podcast, where we talk about how to live in the now. I am your host, Kim Martin Raymond. I'm a minister, spiritual life coach, author, and founder of Redefining You, LLC, where I help my clients to align themselves mind, body, and spirit. I'm so glad to be with you here on another blustery day here in Atlanta, Georgia. It is a little chilly here, but we are here and happy to be here and to share how we are living in the now. And tonight's episode is entitled Beyond the Business. And there have been so many businesses that have been started, that have been expanded, that have, been redesigned and populated. I don't know the words, but it's been
retooled, all the re's,
retooled.
right?
There you go. There you go. And there are so many businesses that have experienced this, especially during this time of pandemic. And it's been important how businesses market themselves, also how they establish client connections. But we know that there's so much more to what a business entails. And it doesn't just start with the business or with the product itself. It starts with the person who is establishing that business. So we want to dive right in and talk about that with my guest this evening. And of course, as is customary with the How Now podcast, I'm going to have my guest to introduce herself, because how we introduce ourselves to the world is how they will receive us. And that comes best from the person who is talking. So with that being said, we're going to have our guest introduce herself.
Well, hi there. I'm Tushana Thompson. I am a wife, a mother, a daughter. And those are my most important roles. And I'm also the CEO and founder of Beyond Business Solutions. We are an outsourced marketing agency that provides holistic support to coaches, consultants, experts who know they need all of the things, right, to stay connected and build relationships with their audiences, but they do not want to do that. So from everything from setting the strategy to really support the business, to execution of social media management, email marketing, web design, graphic design, automations, the whole gamut, are really serving as a source for them to move in their genius and not have to worry about all of those things that can bog us down, right?
Yes, you see, and right there, just let you know it's beyond the EIN number. You just don't get the EIN number
Exactly.
and just go, ta-da, I'm a business.
Exactly.
There's so much more that is involved in starting a business. So before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about how you got into this business.
Sure. So I have been in business 14 years last month, and it has been quite a journey. I started this business as a almost 25-year-old,
Wow.
and I was really looking to take charge of my own life at that point. And I was young enough and dumb enough to have childlike faith at that moment. At that point in my life, I didn't have a family to support, although I did have a mortgage. And I really just wasn't happy at the position that I was in. And I just took a leap of faith, really, and wanted to serve people. And I knew that in my previous role with the trade association that many of our small businesses were closing left and right because they had somebody that could function in whatever role really well. A lot of them were restaurateurs at that time. But there's somebody's grandma that can cook, but there's no one that knows how to market the business, and no one who knows how to create business structures and those types of things. So I decided that I wanted to help those small businesses that huge firms will never look at. If you don't come with a $100,000 budget, they're not going to look at you, right? So I really want to serve as a source for meeting that need.
Yeah. And that's something that's important. And I love that. You say childlike faith, because yes, it does take childlike faith, to be able to take a leap of faith. You have to be able to.
And if I've done it then, I don't think I would have been able to do it at any other point in my life.
Right.
I would have made an excuse
right
for why. So
Yeah, I think sometimes what happens is life teaches us that no, 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 be careful, you can't do this. And now that you have this, you know, we see so
This
many things.
responsibility, right?
Yes, you see those things as sometimes stumbling blocks instead of stepping stones, and
Hmm.
that's something that's important. I think about, when I started my business, and I mean, it was all about, you know, I wanted to be able to provide, I wanted to be able to do things for my family. And so they became my stepping stone. It didn't become a deterrent. It became all the more reason for me to want to do
Your
it.
why, really your why,
Exactly. Exactly. And so I think that that's, phenomenal that you wanted to help small businesses, because a lot of small businesses do struggle because they don't have the support that they need when they're
Right.
trying to establish their business. And it can be overwhelming when you try to be a one-man show, especially like I said, if you're young and you're excited and you think I can do all of this. Yeah, let a couple of those nights catch up on you, or a couple of those deadlines catch up on you. You think you can do everything, like
Exactly.
maybe not.
Exactly.
so,
Yeah.
so it's wonderful that you took that leap of faith and that you sought to do this. And 14 years is a long time to be in the business, and it says it's in testimony because you're still here.
Amen. I
You are
am. I
still.
tried and true.
There
Right.
you go. There you go.
I have been tried.
Okay.
Right.
There you go. There you go. All right. So talk to me about what happened. Everything was going along fine. You've been going along, and then 2020 comes. The pandemic hits. What happened?
You know what? 2020, I've had a couple conversations today, in fact, about the fact that there was so much calamity
Mm,
happening all around in 2020, and so much loss and so much devastation. And, um, we pray for those people, and I honor that space,
mhm,
and so many businesses closing. However, that was not my experience. You know, my business grew nearly 70% last year. Um, and it's because the stuff that I do works, right? From and not even just a marketing perspective, a mindset perspective, a relationship building perspective, a consistently showing up perspective, right? And taking right action. And sometimes it don't feel right at the moment, just taking action. So, while I realized there was a lot that went wrong for a lot of folks, and I honor that. That was my story. And I was talking to some other entrepreneurs today, and they were like, "We did really well last year."
oh,
So it almost feels like when there's so much loss and so much devastation, you don't go from yelling from the rooftops, "Well, I'm doing good," because obviously we've had things happen in our family, COVID outbreaks in our own family, and praise God, we haven't really lost anyone, but it's impacted us,
oh,
but there really has been a hedge of protection
yeah,
around our family and around those that I love, and I pray for everybody that comes into contact with me, right?
yeah,
Um, and over the business and just everything, and it really has been a time of great growth.
yeah. And you see, and that's something that's important for people to realize too. There are a lot of, just like you said, there was a lot of devastation. There was a lot of
Mhm.
businesses that were, that were lost, and things that, instances where people had to shut down, and it was unfortunate. And
Very.
but it also makes us take a step back and make an assessment. What
Hmm.
what was something that we could have done differently? What was something that we could have seen leading up to this? There were a lot of businesses that always thought that they would be in business because people would always want food. People would always come to eat. There was never going to, who would have thought that
Right.
a restaurant would close, that people would not be able to come into a restaurant and eat. You know,
Right.
people would, there are things that you just would not have considered to be possible,
That's true.
and
That's true.
we got to see
But
that.
there's some things, and I think that probably one of the reasons why my business did so well, because so many people were trying to pivot last minute,
Mhm.
pivot to being visible online, pivot to really connecting with their audiences in a different way.
Right,
And, this is something this is all I know, right? This is what I do.
right,
So having virtual meetings is not a big deal for me. Having, obviously I moved all my consulting to virtual. I did used to do some in-person consulting.
mhm,
Um, I did have networking groups that I went to in person that I no longer, choose to do that. But I still network. virtually. I still speak virtually. I probably spoke more in 2020
Mhm.
than I did the previous year, right? So
Right.
it required a shift that most people are unprepared to take,
Right.
right?
Right.
And I was already halfway there, but let me tell you, my husband will say that I worked harder, quote, quote, um, last year than I did before, um, because I was just trying to help people. I was trying to connect.
Right.
I was trying to build a sense of community because there was people that were devastated. So I started doing coffee with Tashana's on Fridays
Mhm.
to really, give back and answer people's marketing questions. It's free advice, right?
That's good.
And I was able to build a nice community there. And it's just, I just took action. I
Yeah.
just kept doing the things. So,
Yeah. So what was something that you would say started showing up more? I know you said that, people were pivoting and trying to determine, how best to market their programs and get their
right.
information out there. But I'm trying to say, what was the thing that you saw most of as far as requests for the type of services that you have? Were they more personal or were they more business? If that makes sense.
Um, Both, but mostly business related.
Mhm.
Connections, but I'm such a relationship builder. I consider myself a relationship marketer.
Yes.
Um, I'm an expert at building relationships. I was telling somebody yesterday, I could build a relationship with a tadpole. Uh, right? Like, it's just my gifting.
Yeah.
And, so it's really been focused on that. And that was my focus. I wasn't trying to sell somebody something.
Mhm.
So, you know, thinking about beyond the business, we are a person beyond whatever we do
Right.
in our business. And realizing I started my mindset work to get myself to kind of the
Mm.
place where I was able to receive everything that happened last year and at the end of 2019 by investing in myself and hiring a coach and hiring someone to kind of guide me through that process and to dream a new dream and to set some intentions and to get after it
Yeah.
and then to take some action so we can't sit on our hands after we do all that, right? um and it's almost it's sometimes imperfect action at first,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then you kind of get some momentum
Right.
and you're rewarded along the way for just doing the things and believing that you can have the life that you say that you want.
Right. And a lot of that is, like you said, you having the foresight, being able to see that things will go beyond and know that, if it gets to a point of manifestation, just like in your instance, if it gets to a space where you're growing exponentially, are you prepared to operate in that space?
Yes,
Because
and that's the thing.
yeah, yeah. You want to make sure that you're in a space of being able to do that with also with integrity, with grace, and
Absolutely.
and also, how do I go beyond this point? Because I think sometimes the inclination is to think my business is going to fail, or it's not going to do well, or if this happens, it's going to automatically. But what happens when it does? Just like you were talking about, it's a mindset. And so if
Absolutely.
you had that mindset of being able to say, okay, my business is going to be successful. And when it is, these are the things that I need to have in place when I get to that point.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. And you know what I tell people, down within my marketing business, I really do implement and work with my clients quite a bit on mindset as we start off because I tell them all, whatever you believe is true.
that's right.
So if you believe that you've spent money with all these marketers and you've done all the things that you don't know is going to work and whatever you gonna say is true.
Right. Right.
So whatever self-defeating prophecy you're gonna put out there, like,
Right.
you're right. If you don't think it's gonna work, you're right, it's not gonna work.
That's right.
But if you believe it will, it absolutely will.
Yeah.
I had a client today text me that they solidified a contract with a major company.
Awesome.
And I was like, yay, she's in my 90-day program and she's just rocking and rolling. I was like, well, that more than paid for me, right? I'm more than paid for myself. But she did what I told her to do as far as the mindset work was concerned. She was coachable in that way.
Yeah.
And she also believed that her investment was going to yield her exponential growth.
There you go.
And it has.
There you go.
And in every instance where that's the mindset and that they believe that, I believe that what you helped me to do, Tashana, is going to take me to the next level.
That's right.
And then it does. But we come in and thankfully I don't get any more of the people like of doom and gloom. Right. I don't know if it's going to work. And thankfully, I prayed for soulmate clients 4 years ago, and that's pretty much what I get. Praise God. But it really starts with what we believe about ourselves and what we keep feeding ourselves. Right.
Yeah.
And even when we do get yucky, because we always, we all get to that place at times, being able to pull ourselves out of that with the spirit of gratitude.
Yes. Absolutely.
I mean, that's where I am seated.
Yes.
Daily.
You have to be.
And I promise you, it has changed my life. Yeah. Not just professionally, but personally. Yeah. Just really seated. And, when you feel those negative emotions come up, because we all do, it's, especially now, everything happening in the world, we get to a place where like, oh, you just turn on the news and you get tight and
that's it.
Scared.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it
has fear.
The fear factor comes in. And then I think, also when you're doing a business and then you start, yes, you want to be aware of the numbers. Yes, you want to be aware of of the things that are happening. Am I generating revenue? All those other aspects of business. But if you start this business with the mindset of knowing that this is what I have been called to do,
absolutely,
and you walk in that obedience,
yes,
then you trust that the people are going to come. If you create the platform, if you create the business or the need, then if you have that belief, those people are going to come.
They're will.
Going to come, and you're not going to have to look for them. They're going to come, and there are going to be ways, like you said, in your programs. And I want you to talk a little bit about
sure.
programs, and just making sure that, like I said, you're opening yourself up to the possibilities, and you're opening yourself up to receive that manifestation. And
exactly.
That's where that's where that mindset has to be. Otherwise, like you said, there's not going to be success if you don't see that success.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about that, your program.
Sure. One of the big things that I've learned, especially in these last 12 months, is being willing to invest in yourself.
Absolutely.
Personally and professionally. And that looks different to everybody, right? It might look like buying a $20 course that you're actually going to take, right? Or it might look like hiring a coach to cost you a few $1,000s and really investing in yourself in that way. We got to crawl before we walk, right? But there's something that we all can do to be investing in ourselves, right? To help us get to the next level. And one thing that you mentioned a moment ago that I didn't quite touch on was being prepared for the success. I don't know that we can ever fully be prepared for that quantum leap, as Price Pritchard calls it, really that exponential growth.
Right.
You just kind of go and you figure it out as you go, right? And then you have the money to hire the people to put in the right places. And that's a whole nother thing. And what comes first, the chicken or the egg, right?
That's right.
So I get that, but there has to be some level of willingness to invest in yourself in some way. I mean, even if it's not financial, in that way, are you investing in yourself in your meditation, in your exercise, and your stillness, and reading and studying things like and journaling writing gratitude, goal statement, like things that we can do that cost us nothing.
Yes.
And
And
everybody on YouTube will teach you about it for free.
That's right. That's right.
Right. And as you go along, then of course you want to have somebody kind of hold your hand more, but there's something that we all can be doing to take ourselves to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah. And just like you said, it's about investing, and it's about realizing that you're worth it.
Exactly.
That's what you have to say to yourself, and you have to be continuous in thinking that I am worth it.
Absolutely.
This is going to take me where I need to be, and so I'm willing to make that investment. I'm willing to see the fruits of what I put into. When you put things in, you get things out. How much
Absolutely.
are you willing to put in so that way you can see what it is? You can't put in a little bit and expect a whole lot. That's not
Exactly.
it's not how it works. Sometimes you've got to, it's got to hurt a little bit. You got to tighten the belt a little bit, and then we think about some of the things that we do. We can sit there and buy food 4 and 5 times a week, and 7 days a week eating out and everything else
Yes.
like that. And by the time you sit there and you calculate that, you could have paid for something that could have helped
Exactly.
to get you to a point where you can eat out and it's not a stress.
Exactly.
So, it's a matter of
And that's so
mindset.
true. And priority
Yeah.
and level of investment. We all have money for what we think what we want to have money for.
Right. Right. It's amazing.
I mean, and not that you want to put yourself in a position where you are, being dishonest or disingenuous with someone and agreeing to something that daggone well you can't do.
Right.
But sometimes you have to have, like, I've invested in things at times. I remember the first time I invested heavily was 4 years ago. It was the year that I made no money, the year I had my daughter and my business partner left.
Wow.
I invested in this another brand manager because I needed somebody to be me for me. And her program, I'm going to say it was like $10,000.
Wow.
I had the first 2 payments.
Wow.
I didn't know where the rest was going to come from, but I felt like it was something that I really needed to do.
Right.
And when I tell you, I never lacked nothing. I didn't have to put it on a credit card. I didn't have to. The first one might have went on a credit card, but nothing else, And sometimes you can't do that with everything, but when you are led, and instinctually, when you are led, you have to make that leap most times before you're ready. Most times before it feels easy.
Right.
Like investing in yourself doesn't typically feel easy.
No.
And if it does, you need to up the ante.
Right. And I think especially as women, we tend, because we're so supportive and we're so willing to give of ourselves, it's very difficult to give or pour into ourselves. But we don't realize that when we do, we get ourselves to a space of overflow where we can not only have ourselves be filled, but we can also fill others, and there's an abundance. There's an overflow, and that's definitely where we want to get. So
Absolutely.
that's the beauty. Okay, so like I said, I wanted to talk about your program. So let's talk about your program, because we want to be able to invest in those things. We're talking about investing, and so talk to us about some of the programs that you do and how you're helping people to get to that space.
Absolutely. So typically clients come to me and they start with a discovery session that is free of charge. And from there, we go into a full-on strategy session. And it is a 3-hour session that gives them a blueprint and a 90-day content plan. So a marketing blueprint that really goes through several aspects of their business, brand avatars, marketing goals, business goals, revenue goals, the whole gamut, right? Channels of how we're going to connect with audiences. And then I give them 90 days worth of ideas for content that they can be sharing on various platforms. And I give them recommendations, mindset works tips that they can implement immediately themselves, and also my recommendation. So what I think, if you decided to do my 90-day program, which is the next step, what we would tackle, because it's customized, what we would tackle based on your needs during that 90 days. And most folks go from there into a 90-day program, which we are laying foundation in that program.
Mm-hmm.
So most folks are cleaning up brands. They have never had an online presence. So we're starting that. We're getting email lists together. We're creating CRM setup, customer relationship management setups, and doing all of those things to really make their businesses flow well and putting them in a position where people want to be engaged with them. So, we're putting things on social media, like, schedule an intro call with me, download my ebook, or whatever the case may be, to really get some traction. And we go from, we do that for 90 days, and they get 6 sessions. So they meet with me every 2 weeks, and we both have homework. But the beauty in that program is that they walk away with something after each meeting that I need them to do. And I walk away with the chunk of work that I'm doing for them. So there are a lot of marketing strategists that really focus on just coaching you and you figure it out.
Right.
But what I know for sure is that sometimes you need a helping hand to kind of guide you along the way. So I have both the coaching without the implementation, and the implementation, coaching. So it really gives people a way to, decide which way they want to go. If they have a team already, or, they can just do the coaching, the mindset and marketing coaching. Or if not, they can do the full on implementation.
Okay. Now, is this something that they can do? They can do. This can be for a person who is just starting a business, and also for people that have existing businesses who may be looking to repurpose their business or.
Yeah. So most of my clients have been in business 5+ years.
Okay.
The strategy session is really nice for folks that are new and are deciding where they want to go, and I could definitely put together a customized package for them. But typically, the people that are going through my 90-day program have a brand that, they've been in business for a while, they've had some success, and they just haven't touched anything in a long time.
Gotcha.
They've got dead set on doing what works, and they're not touching anything else. And they realize that they're missing opportunity.
Nice.
And they also realize that they can't do it all by themselves. Well, I've played with social media a little bit, but I don't know. I play with email marketing, or I have a stack of business cards, but I don't have an email list, and I never, touch base with my clientele. So those are the types of things. I typically work with coaches, consultants, and experts. So people who have, 20+ years of experience and then go into business for themselves in some capacity. So they get it, and they know that they don't want to do it themselves. They're very clear about that.
That's it. That's it. So they're
Yeah,
they're more receptive, and I mean, I love
absolutely.
that. I love that you do that discovery portion, because that's something that's important too. I guess when you do the discovery, it's helping them to determine whether this is something that they should do.
It's really a needs assessment. It's a discovery. I'm discovering what their needs are, um, and seeing if I'm a good fit, right? And if they're a good fit for me, I turn away money too.
Mm.
All money ain't good money. That's a whole nother
Y'all
conversation,
hear
right?
that? Okay, yes. She said all
So
money is not good money.
it is not. It is not. So, it really lets us decide, okay, are we a good fit? And that blueprint is so in depth, and they have 90 days worth of content ideas, which is really what people struggle with the most. People do not know they don't know what to talk about online, and there's no strategy. So if I can help you with that, sometimes some people are okay. Most times they figure out all the things they need to be doing, and they want to go into a program, a 90-day program. But then after we do the 90-day program, they can go into a 6-month or a year program where I support them as their chief marketing officer in some capacity. So I have different levels of that I really, serve as an outsourced solution. And I have a team of graphic designers, web designers, social media managers that, we really come along and provide full functioning support, holistic support.
Wow. And that's really neat. So like you said, it definitely goes beyond the business.
Exactly.
And I love that.
Every level, like
Yeah.
everything that you can really think of.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's important. You wanted to touch on everything. I love that you touch on the business side, that you do that deep dive into what it is that people need to do, and that you give them some actionable items. People need to
Absolutely.
do, when you talk about their business, you don't want them to come in and just hand everything over to you and just say, "Hey, okay," especially if they've been in business for a long time, just come in and fix it. It's like, no, you
Exactly.
want them to know how to fix it.
We are a partner in this effort,
Right,
right?
right. And then you hope that, yes, we'll hold your hand and we'll work with you, but you hope that you'll get to a point of independence, but you want to help them to
Absolutely.
lay that foundation. And just like I said, I love that you speak on that personal piece as well, so that way they're knowing that, you know, I have to be in a space to be able to do these things.
And
And
it's
if I'm
accountability as well. And it's helping
yes,
people to stretch.
yes,
The client that just got this big contract, she's a little shy and she didn't really want to put herself out there. And I tell you, the reception to her, because she has such a beautiful spirit. And I said, "Oh, girl." When I first met her, I said, "People are going to flock to you." And they have. But we have to show up to give them a chance to.
yes, yes.
And so many of us are hiding behind some invisible, predetermined cloak, and we're hiding ourselves and hiding our potential from the world, and then wondering why we're not getting the life that we say we want.
Yeah. And I think we've seen a lot of that again in this pandemic, in this time of pandemic. Like you said, it was a time where a lot of people had to step up and step out there and take a chance on themselves. And I think
Absolutely.
really took a chance to look into that and say, you know what, I think that I'm capable of doing this, or I know that I'm capable of doing this. And
Absolutely.
that's not a space that some people have ever been, you know, kind of pushed to go into. It's not really
Absolutely.
to say, well, yeah, I'm not sure, I don't know what to think. But when when the whole world shuts down and you say, I think maybe I may have to rethink that. It makes you do some
Exactly.
things that you never thought that you would do. But it's wonderful to be able to have someone, like you said, to support you. And I think that was important what you said in the beginning about having a coach and making sure that you were in the right frame of mind. Because typically
Absolutely.
when we're helping others to get to that next level, we have to make sure that we're staying in step with our purpose and our goals and our
Absolutely.
desires as well. And that
Absolutely.
requires us to make sure that we're doing that we're taking the time to invest in us. So I love that you talk about that. I love that your business is seeking to do those things to help people to get to where they need to be, so that their businesses can grow and that they can pour into others and to make available those products and services that they have.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely.
it's a beautiful space to be in. It really
It
is.
really is.
You
It
know,
really is.
yeah, and then like I said, all of the different ways now that we have to go about networking is changed so much, and we're going to see the face of how we interact with each other continue to change as we go through this new year.
Exactly.
There's going to be,
Exactly.
Zoom. Who would have thunk it? A lot of us, were using little web calls and
Don't we wish we had
great.
bought stock in Zoom long ago?
What you say?
We would have been rich, rich.
Okay, you go turn it. Free conference call. All of these things that we had no idea were going to change the face of how we communicate, change the face of how we do business. We would have never seen these things. And I think that's an important thing to talk about too. You know, how do we go about making sure that we're changing as things change, that if there are things that we need to be doing differently, and you even mentioned that some
Absolutely.
people are stubborn in not wanting to change. Like you said, if it's not fixed, I'm just going to continue to go in this way because this is what works. And so I'm never going to do
Right.
anything different. And then they miss out on the opportunities.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever read the book, Who Moved My Cheese?
Yes, love it. Y'all
Right?
get that book. I mean, it's an
Get that
oldie but
book.
goodie. It's an oldie but goodie.
Oldie but goodie.
Yes,
And I used to be one of those people because it change is hard.
yes,
And we get accustomed and we're deeply rooted in what we've been doing, regardless if it's working or not.
right,
And really are fearful to move to a new place.
right.
And I think that's, a lot of people couldn't. And, there's many businesses that are closed to no fault of their own. And I acknowledge that.
Yes.
But there are still others who had the writing on the wall
right
years and years ago that they need to have an option of both, right? Even in my marketing, I still do old school marketing and new school marketing. I remember that I built my business 14 years ago, sending handwritten cards to 50 companies, right? And that still works at a time, right? That old school stuff still works, but we have to match it with some new school technique as well. And I think that some people are unwilling to let go.
Yeah, I agree.
Or you don't even have to let go, just embrace something new.
Exactly. Or at least be open to the possibility
exactly.
of doing something new. We have to have an intrinsic mindset where we're able to say, okay, I don't know a lot about this, but let me at least look into it. Let me at least expose myself to it so that I can see. I'm sure that when people were making pizza years ago, whoever thought they were going to be selling pizza and then all of a sudden selling wings on the side. We don't sell chicken, we make pizzas. But when people buy them chicken in those wings,
exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So, and I say that to be simplistic about how we can take something to another level, and think that because it's something that we would never think to do, but because somebody said, well, hey, let's try it and see what happens, we won't know. And so it's all about exposure. And I think that's what platforms like these, platforms like your business, they're about being able to expose people to things that they would typically not be exposed to. Some people will not go and look. I mean, we live in an age of technology. We can go and Google or YouTube just about anything. And some people still won't do that. They'll still go and ask somebody down the street who has nothing to do or knows nothing about what it is that they're doing and rely on that person's thoughts as to how they should do something or how they should run their business. So it's important for people to remember to be open-minded and to know that things go beyond, the edge of their nose, and that there are other opportunities out there. There are other opportunities out there, and that's what I'm sure you do. And beyond the business, and doing in Beyond Business Solutions, you're letting people know that it's more than just this. There are other ways that they can do it.
And really, beyond the business is really connecting, because my whole purpose in the work that I do for my clients is to help them build relationships with their ideal audiences. I'm not in it for the quickie transactional to get you 1 million leads and you just spray on everybody and hope that you get something. Like that's not my approach at all. I am relationship centered and focused for both myself and for my clients. And how do we connect with our audiences beyond the business of whatever we're trying to sell them? Right? How do we connect? Even me being here with you today is because of a connection long ago, right?
Right. That's right. We connected many.
And you got an email that, and you responded to my email. We got on the, the phone, the Zoom.
Yeah.
And, here we are.
Yeah.
But people forget to tap into relationship.
That's right. And just like you said, even with this, even when you talk about the pandemic again, and I go back to that because that's how we're living right now. We're in the pandemic, and so much of it is about empathy.
Oh, yes.
Being able to reach out and saying, hey, even your current clients, your former clients, hey,
are you okay?
There you go. I'm just calling to check on you. I'm just tapping in to make sure that you're okay. I know that things are shut down. Are you all right? And that's important in building those relationships more than anything, because people will remember Tashana called and checked on me when I didn't know what was happening, what was going on.
Right.
She just reached out and called, and that made all the difference in the world. And that relationship building that you're talking about.
Exactly. And sending a note or whatever the case may be. I remember when the pandemic first hit, I sent a very heartfelt email to, everybody that was on my mailing list and sent several thereafter. And I created this event that I have on Fridays called Coffee with Tashana, where I, we spoke about it earlier. I created that solely to be of service during this time. I know people were struggling. and could not figure that thing out. Like, so how do we help? And having that empathy and not always being so concerned with what's going to make me the dollar today.
That's right. That's right.
People can sniff that. People can feel that. Like, how do you show care about somebody and for people without having a direct benefit to you?
Right.
You know?
Right.
And not that we want to, obviously we have to balance
That's right.
what we do for free or what we offer, how much we educate. But, I always tell my clientele that these are my audiences, educating your audience, giving them something they can do without you if they needed to, engaging with them, seeing what they need, and entertaining them. Let them know who you are, what makes your heart beat. If you're funny, and I crack a fool all the time on my social media pages, let them know who you are. People are looking for human connection.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's so key, like you said, in being able to see those successes. That's what's going to keep people coming back. They're going to come back,
Exactly.
they're going to remember all of the things that you did that were beyond the dollar signs, but that were also, like you said, in building those relationships. Those things are key. People have to know who you are to be able to trust you. People are going to do business
Absolutely.
with people. They're not doing business with the business. They're doing business with the person first. And if they are not feeling like there's going to be some type of connection there, then they're going to go and take their
Yeah, they're
business.
doing business with people they know, like, and trust. We hear it over and over again,
No,
right?
like and trust. Over.
So how do we give them an opportunity to do that with us?
That's right. That's right. We've got to
Yeah,
go, like you said, beyond the business. So before
right.
we start wrapping things up, I want to,
Sure.
we have our we always give a time for our guests to tell people how they're living in the now and what they're doing to navigate in this space.
Whew.
So, what are you doing to live in the now?
I am taking time daily
Mm-hmm.
and to focus on myself, to give my mornings are devoted to me,
Yeah.
and really sitting and being still and expressing that gratitude, like I spoke about.
Mm-hmm.
I have a gratitude journal and I write out my goal statements, and I'm trying to start working out. Pray for me.
Okay, honey,
Uh,
that's me too.
I've started slow and steady. We got a bike, and
One day at a
I'm
time,
doing
sweet.
that, right? But really investing in myself,
Yeah.
you know, getting a wellness coach, getting another mindset coach, and all of those things. But
Yeah.
having some time, because my daughter is home now and has been for a year. I have a 4-year-old, and pray for me because she's been home
Yeah.
for almost. Um, so there's a balance between, all of that.
Yeah.
But I'm just so blessed and so thankful. And I have an amazing husband, and my mom helps with it. But having that time in the morning, and it requires that I wake up early.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I want to get some quiet, I
Yeah.
have to be up about 5 or, 6
Mm-hmm.
at the absolute latest,
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
typically 5. And I get my meditation, my journaling,
That's it.
and that keeps me seated in this now moment.
Yes. I love that. And that's something that those who are listening, take heart to that. Make sure that you are investing in yourself, that you're taking time for you. We
Right.
always hear that, you can't pour from an empty cup, and I believe in being in a space of overflow. I want to be in overflow so that my cup stays filled, and then in that overflow, I can pour into others and still have some left for me. Because I don't want to give it all away, and then I'm spent, and then I'm looking at like animosity with people who I
Resentment.
feel who I feel took things from me, and no, I cheated myself. And so I
Absolutely.
definitely
Say that.
believe, when you're talking about taking that time for you, taking that time to, just like you said, be still, to strategize and start thinking about how you're going to do things throughout the course of the day, how you're going to incorporate your family into that, so that way they're not left out. They feel
Hmm.
that they're a part of it because they're part of the gratitude too. I'm grateful for my husband and my grandbaby and my daughter and all the people
Yes.
that are within my household, and I have to give them some time, a part of me too, because they're a part of me, and I want to be a part of them. not just because we're related, but because, I want to share that physical space with them because I care. So I think that that's wonderful. And I think that those are wonderful words of wisdom. So do you have any other things that you would like to leave with our guests before we tell them how to
Sure.
get in contact with you?
Sure. I just want you to remember that you have the power
Mm.
to change your situation. It starts with you, and love on yourself. Take care of yourself. As you said, Kim, can't pour from an empty cup, and be willing to get help. You can't do it all alone. So start where you can, and sometimes start with a little bit uncomfortable
Right.
that stretches you a little, right? Um, but really focus on your relationships, both personally and professionally.
Yeah.
Our lives move at the speed of relationships, is what I always say.
I love it.
That's how your life moves, at the speed of your
Mhm.
ability to maintain and really feed your relationships, both personally and professionally, right?
Yes. I'm writing that down, honey. She said, your life moves at the
It does.
speed of your relationships. Honey, I got to write that down. Sometimes you get these nuggets, you have to write them down, folks.
It does.
Because
It
if you
absolutely
get it all
does.
on there, you start forgetting something. Like, what did she say?
What's she say?
Right, that's right. You at the speed of the relationships, and that's true. And I think so much of it is because we, you know, how we deal with the situations, how we deal with the people in our lives. Are we reactive? Are we proactive? And
Absolutely.
that's going to determine whether it's going to accelerate into something negative or whether it's going
Mhm.
to ease into something positive. So I love that.
Absolutely.
Your life moves at the speed of your relationships. Don't forget it, folks. Do not forget it. Those are
Get
words
it.
to live by. Okay, so before we go, let people know how they can get in contact with you.
Sure. You can follow me on all social media platforms at Grow with BBS, Grow with Be Like Boy for Beyond Business Solutions, Grow with BBS. You can also follow me at I am Tashana T for more of my personal life and all my mindset work. But yeah, you connect with me there, and once you go there, you'll see ways to schedule a discovery call and all that goodness. And I'll share the link with you, Kim, so you
Very
can put it
good.
in the notes if you choose to. So
Absolutely. And then your website, of
yeah,
course, www.
beyondsolutions.biz.
Yes.
Yes,
So now you know all of the ways in which to get in contact with Tashana. And we thank you so much for being on the show and for talking about beyond business and talking about the importance of you know doing things that are going to help to build those relationships, also some of
hmm
those marketing strategies, also just some of those ways in which we're preparing ourselves to invest in ourselves so that we can pour into others. And like I
amen.
said, it goes beyond the business. So again, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
I
Thank you for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
Yes, honey, absolutely. And it's always wonderful to reconnect with old friends. And then, when you have people
Absolutely.
in your life who you haven't seen in years, but they still have an
Years.
impact in your life, that just goes to show, she's been in the business and she left enough of an impression on me that I've never forgotten her. We don't have to see each other every single day, but I mean, we can go from years back and I can turn around and we can talk just like we saw each other yesterday. And that's the
Exactly.
beauty.
Beauty
That's
of a
the beauty.
relationship.
That is the beauty of the relationship.
And
And
that's the beauty of social too, right? Because that's how
yeah,
we stay connected.
yes, love, exactly. There it is. There it is. So again, like I said, I thank you for being here. I love you, honey. I wish you the best in all that you are doing. Continued
Too.
success and just continue to keep on doing what you're doing to help those around you. All right, so that will be it for another edition of How Now, where we talk about how to live in the now. And until the next time I see you, I say peace.